So again, thank you everyone for joining us. And tonight we have a similar topic we're going to be speaking about both for the Zera Shimshon and Rabbi, and that is the passing of Miriam Haniviyah. Miriam the prophet, which was Moshe Rabbeinu's older sister. We know that there were three siblings. It was Miriam, Aharon, and Moshe. And their passing all happened within, well, less than 12 months, but within the last year of the Jewish people's travel in the desert. And Miriam passed away on the 10th of Nisan. So just so we know, the first of Av is when Aharon passed away, and Zayin B'Adar, the 7th of Adar, is when Moshe Rabbeinu passed away. So all within, let's say, a year, 11 months, they all passed away. Now, besides for them all passing away within a year, the Talmud says that the Jewish people were gifted three gifts, one in merit of each of these great prophets. In the merit of Miriam, the Jewish people were given the very famous Be'er Miriam, which was the well that the Jewish people were able to drink water from while they were traveling in the wilderness. Aharon HaKohen brought the great merit that the Jewish people will have the Ananei HaKavod, the clouds of glory. Clouds of glory was what provided protection for the Jewish people. It wasn't too sunny, wasn't too hot, wasn't too windy. No animals and reptiles and all these different things. So that was in Aaron's merit. Moshe Rabbeinu, in his merit, the Jewish people were given the man, and that was the wonder bread that the Jewish people ate from on a daily basis. They went out to go and gather it. So these three gifts, the well, the clouds of glory, and the manna, is what brought great merit. So it was in the merit of these three, Miriam, Aharon, and Moshe, that the Jewish people were able to have in the desert while they traveled. When Miriam passed away, the well disappeared. When Aaron passed away, the clouds went. When Moshe went away, the manna stopped falling from the sky. So that it's clear from that all of these each of these respectively were given in merit of one of each of these prophets. So the Zera Shimshon says that if you look at the Mefarshim, specifically the Midrash, it's evident that the well started slowly drying up before Miriam actually passed away. It completely ceased when she passed away, but with the, days, weeks, months coming up to her passing, the well started diminishing. The question is why? Why specifically would the well start drying up and before it actually passes away, before she actually passes away? So the Zera Shimshon gives a very interesting answer. He says that the well of Miriam can be compared to the soul of a person, the neshama. The neshama knows, a person's soul knows 30 days before he or she passes, they have this feeling. Now, sometimes as the close family members were able to recognize that or point that out, and sometimes we're not really able to. But the soul itself knows 30 days before it's going that it's time, that it's coming. So in the case of Miriam, the reason why the well started diminishing was because the soul of Miriam knew that she was going to pass away within the coming weeks. So based on that question, we have to ask, the Zera Shimshon says, so why is it that the man and the clouds of glory didn't start diminishing before Moshe and Aaron passed away? If for Miriam it starts diminishing before, you're telling me that the souls of Moshe and Aaron didn't know? It's a good question, right? If it works for the well, so it should also work for the other two. The well started diminishing. Let the clouds and the man also start to diminish before the time of passing. So the Midrash says a fascinating answer. Zera Shimshon says, the Midrash says, if the Jewish people would have known that Aaron HaKohen was passing away soon, they would have never allowed him to ascend to the mountain to pass. They would have prayed their hearts out to make sure that Hashem would not take Aaron from them. Why specifically Aaron? Because Aaron was a man of peace. Aaron was the man who dedicated his life towards the prayer and sustaining and making peace for the Jewish people, between two people. We all know that obviously the famous story of two people who could not get along, and Aaron HaKohen would go to one of them and say, the other person really feels sorry, even though he never said anything. And then he goes to the other person, the other person wishes that they could make up with you. And then the two of them meet and he brings them together and he makes shalom. It's easier said than done, but Aaron really made a tremendous effort and he was very successful at bringing peace between people. So again, the Zera Shimshon says, if the Jewish people would have known that Aaron was going to pass away, they would have never let him pass away. They would have prayed so hard. They wouldn't have ever let him go up. So that's why, if the clouds of glory, if the Ananei Kavod would have been starting to diminish before Aaron passes away, then the Jewish people would know, the same thing that happened to Miriam now is happening to Aaron. We're not going to let this happen. So that's why it just happened from one day to the next when Aaron passed away. So now what about the man and Moshe Rabbeinu? Right? We know that the Jewish people's belovedness for Aaron was even greater than Moshe Rabbeinu. In what way? When the Torah tells us that Moshe passes, let's go Aaron first. It says that the entire nation cried for Moshe Rabbeinu. That the entire nation cried for Aharon HaKohen. Again, because he was the man of peace. He brought peace and everyone loved him. When Moshe Rabbeinu passed away, it didn't say the word kol, it didn't say everybody. And that shows us, that's a proof that the Jewish people loved Aaron even more than they loved Moshe Rabbeinu. Now, we're not saying Aaron was greater than Moshe Rabbeinu. It's just that everyone loves a peacemaker, and not everyone loves a leader. It's a fact of life. Leaders have to sometimes be strict. Leaders have to lead the way. Leaders have to reprimand. Leaders have to do things which leaders have to do, and that other people, not everyone may like. And that was Moshe Rabbeinu's position. And as an account of that, not everyone was so fond of Moshe Rabbeinu. And that's fine. That's okay. A message to all leaders nowadays, right? If Moshe Rabbeinu, who was the leader of the Jewish people, who was handpicked, he was a Navi, he was a prophet, and not even all of his followers were so fond of him, well, the more so for us. So it's a normal thing. But the point is that, well, if the Jewish people loved Aharon so much, that's why the clouds didn't diminish. So what about the man? Yeah, of course they loved Moshe Rabbeinu, but not as much as Aharon. So the man could have diminished a little bit right before it just vanishes and stops. So the Zera Shimshon says the reason why the man had to disappear from one day to the next when Moshe passed away and could not diminish slowly is because Moshe Rabbeinu's death had to be the same way as Aharon, meaning their method of passing had to be similar and identical. The reason for that is because the reason why the both of them were decreed not to enter the land of Israel was because Moshe Rabbeinu was the one who hit the rock. Now, Aaron was there. Aaron was kind of blamed for that. According to the Zera Shimshon, Aaron was grouped up with Moshe Rabbeinu. The two of them would not enter the land of Israel. That was what broke the camel's back, because Moshe Rabbeinu hit the rock instead of spoke to the rock. So for this reason, the man and the clouds of glory left the people directly, and it didn't have this 30-day period of waiting like it had by Miriam's well. So this is the first part of the Zera Shimshon. I just want to shoot a little lesson in. The lesson is we see how beloved the Jewish people loved Aharon. He was so beloved to them because he brought peace, he brought shalom. As the Mishnah says, you know how we're supposed to act? We're supposed to be like a student of Aharon HaKohen, who would ohev shalom, he would love shalom. He would rodef shalom. He would pursue and run after peace. Umekarvan la Torah, and he would bring people closer to Torah. This is the way we are to try to act. Always to pursue peace, to love peace, to teach people, to bring them closer in a pleasant, peaceful manner. That's what HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants from us. So this we see again about the contrast of Miriam's merit and gift to the Jewish people, which diminished 30 days prior to her passing, opposed to the Aharon and Moshe's gift and merit that had to vanish at once, again because of Aaron's great belovedness for the Jewish people, or to the Jewish people. Now, to continue, Rashi quotes the Talmud. I want to show you the verse. So this is in this week's Torah portion. This is in Numbers, Bamidbar, chapter 20, verse 1. It says, Vayavo b'nei Yisrael kol ha'eda midbar tzin. The entire congregation of the children of Israel arrived at the desert of Sin. B'chodesh harishon, this was in Nisan. Vayeshev ha'am beKadesh, and they settled in Kadesh. Vatamot sham Miriam vatikaber sham. Miriam passed away there, and she was buried there. What's the next verse? The next verse is Velo haya mayim la'eda, and the congregation had no water. Vayikalu al Moshe ve'Aaron, they came assembled and complained to Moses and Aaron. Again, you have water, you had something, and you lose it. Obviously, that's a reason for Jews to complain. Or Jews don't need too much of a reason to complain, but obviously missing water, when you have nothing to drink in the wilderness, we could say that warrants a reason to complain. The point is that it was evident that when Miriam passed away, that the well was definitely given in her merit. Now, this chapter of Miriam's passing, Rashi tells us, which is what the Talmud tells us, is specifically juxtaposed next to the concept of para aduma. Para aduma is the red heifer. The red heifer was a very specific cow, which had to be young in its first 2 years of life. Red. There's plenty of not plenty. There's like one or two very, very nice short YouTube clips about red heifers that were found in our day and age, and it really, really shows you such beauty. Literally a cow which is normally brown or black to be red is absolutely fascinating. So this red heifer was a mitzvah that the Jewish people had if they wanted to purify themselves from the deepest impurities, basically the impurities of being in contact with a dead body. The red heifer would have to be obviously slaughtered, burnt, and its ashes were sprinkled on the Jewish people. That's how the red heifer. That's what the red heifer was used for, in order to sprinkle on the Jewish people, in order for the Bnei Israel to get out of their depths of impurity. So the Talmud says, Rashi quotes it, that this juxtaposition of the passing of Miriam is specific. It's not a coincidence that it is right next to the mitzvah of para aduma, the mitzvah of the red heifer, in order to teach us that the passing of righteous people, i.e. Miriam in this case, atones. That just as para aduma, the red heifer, atones, so too does the death of righteous people, the death of tzaddikim, also serves as an atonement. So the Zera Shimshon asks, he says, how do we see that the passing of a tzaddik or a tzaddeket atones in this case? There were bad things that still happened after Miriam passed away, i.e. the loss of water instantly. If you're telling me that the passing of a tzadeket, in this case Miriam, serves as an atonement, so why is the water taken? So listen to this fascinating concept. He says that when a tzaddik passes away, when a righteous person passes away, they pass away because the other people, the surrounding people, are not meritus of having that person anymore. Because a true, now I don't know if we've ever even met a true tzaddik. Maybe they're few and far between in this world. But a true righteous person really should never pass. And the only reason why they pass is because the surrounding people do not have the merit to continue to living in the midst and company of this righteous person. And when will they realize how great the person is? When the person passes away. What happens is when a person passes away, when a very righteous person passes away, the entourage of people start feeling the void. And when they feel the void, they'll do teshuvah, because they'll realize the severity of the loss of this person. And that will bring atonement. So the Zera Shimshon says that's what it means by the passing of a tzaddik gives atonement. It's the effect, it's the after effect of realizing that person passed away. That is what provides atonement, because it's actually going to propel and encourage a person to do teshuvah. So now the follow-up question is, and stay tuned, the Reb Leib has different answers to these questions, similar questions, so we'll see. The next question, the Zera Shimshon says, why specifically should the death of Miriam be juxtaposed to right next to Para Aduma, the red heifer? Why not next to any other korban? We know that all offerings and sacrifices provide atonement as well. So why specifically next to a Para Aduma and not any other type of offering or korban? Explains the Zera Shimshon, fascinating concept. He says that the death of a tzaddik is not enough to provide atonement. Something else has to be done. A person has to internalize the pain and the loss and then do something. This is exactly the same process in this way with the red heifer. You see, the red heifer, after it was sprinkled on you, you weren't just tahor right away. You weren't pure right away. You had to go to the mikveh after. You had to do something. You did step 1, and you still had to follow up with step 2. Similarly, with the passing of a righteous person. Step 1 is the person passes away. But number 2, you need to internalize it. You need to take action. You need to do teshuvah. That's not so for a korban. Korban, all the preparation is done before the sacrifice. When you bring it to the Beit HaMikdash, it's slaughtered, it's burnt. That's it, you're done. But the Para Aduma, the mitzvah of the red heifer, is different. It's after the action is done, you have something else to do. So the lesson is, in my opinion, from this juxtaposition of the passing of Miriam next to Para Aduma, the red heifer, I'll say it bluntly, I'll say it very short, and then I'll explain. It's you see something, you do something. The normal saying goes, you see something, you say something. That's normally when it comes to safety. But in light of tonight, I'd like to change that phrase for our learning purposes is, you see something, you do something. You see, like what the Jewish people did, you see a righteous person pass away, you do teshuvah. You internalize it. You do something about it. There's so many things that happen on a daily basis. It's kind of hard for our brains to internalize the severity of certain things that happen. And this works for the positive things and for negative things. Unfortunately, how many times do we hear of people passing away or getting sick or needing help or asking for tzedakah? It used to be that you heard about someone passing away, getting terminally ill, once in a while. And our brains were able to, and our hearts were able to really digest it and really feel for it and contemplate and do something about it. The problem with the technology that we have nowadays is almost every day we get a message, urgent tehillim, urgent prayers needed, or some type of fundraising need or opportunity. Every single day I have another organization or cause reaching out on my phone to me. We get desensitized. It used to be once a month, once a year, you'd hear of a massive news. Oh, you'd really be able to internalize it. Our avodah today is figuring out a balance of, number one, not becoming depressed on all of the hardships and sorrows that we hear worldwide for the Jewish people. but on the other hand, not completely discounting it completely. It's a very hard concept. That means every time you get a message or someone tells you about someone who's not feeling well, or someone who's in need of tefillah, or someone who's in need of tzedakah, or a chatan and kala, they're getting married, they need help. On one hand, we can't completely dismiss it because then nothing matters anymore. But on the other hand, if we care too much about it, we're going to go into a mental depression. It's absolutely crazy. So we have to find a balance of caring about it enough to do something, caring enough about it to pray, to contribute somewhat, but on the other hand, not becoming completely crazy and depressed over it and sad over it. It's a hard balance. It's a very, very hard balance. But the message the Torah is sending us this week is you see something, you do something. A miracle happens in your life. Something great happens to you, to a family member, to someone you know. Stop and thank Hashem. Stop and take something on. Do something great. Because the difference between someone who's living and someone who's not is based on one's reaction. If you see things, great things or even horrible things, and you absolutely do not react and you do not change, well, the person may be breathing and talking, but they're not really alive. You're really alive when you react to your surrounding, when you're able to do something about or based on what you've just seen or experienced. The same way that, God forbid, if you see someone in any type of medical struggle, God forbid, someone choking, someone fell and they're in need, you see it, you see something, you do something about it. The same way spiritually, we have to take upon ourselves this responsibility of when you see something, you do something. And this we learned from the para aduma, the red heifer, that you had to go to the mikveh after it was sprinkled. And this we also learn from Miriam's passing, and for that matter, any righteous person's passing. The purpose of a righteous person passing, or the reason, is not because they deserved to pass. They really deserve to live it for eternity. But we are not meritorious. The rest of the congregation, community, is not meritorious. When they pass, it's just there for us to see it and to do something about it. Namely, better our ways through teshuvah, mitzvot, Torah, and ma'asim tovim.